another episode of Ed's Auto Garage. Again, this is Ed Arango coming to you from, again, my garage here in Huntington Beach, California. It's been a while. I haven't done a podcast in probably about a month, 6 weeks now. And today's podcast is going to be a little different, a little funky, a little bit kind of coming from a place that's a little dear and near to my heart, which is kind of a little bit, kind of regarding the scooter scene, Lambretta, Vespa, the scooter scene that maybe a lot of people just really don't know or understand. Or today on the show, I've got two buddies of mine. We have Greg Covey and we've got Dwight Schmidt. Is that how you say it, Dwight? Last name?
Yep.
Schmidt? That is such an Argentinian name.
I know.
Isn't it? And so it's kind of funny. I got, as a, now I'm a grown up and I can make my own decisions. So I bought myself a scooter and nobody could tell me otherwise. So I bought myself a scooter some years back. I have had motorcycles. I had Ninjas and I had a Harley and all this kind of crap. And, I just kind of said to myself, you know what? It'd be fun to just have a scooter now. I can ride it. I don't need to be going fast or long distances or any of that, long distances like, not that you can't do it on a scooter. You can. But so Dwight and I kind of connected through social media. Probably like 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Like that, yeah. It's been a long time. And Dwight, honestly, he opened my eyes to this scooter culture that is still going on that you may not, people may not realize that's going on. And then obviously he introduced me to Greg, and then from Greg's house around the corner we went to an event that was at the
Piazzas.
Yeah, Piazzas, right there on PCH.
Yeah.
And it was just, it kind of was a little mind blowing to me that there is still this, I don't know, do you guys want to call it a subculture?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, is it? So why don't you guys kind of if you guys don't mind jumping in and just kind of giving us a little bit of how you guys got to know each other and how the culture started here in Southern California. Go ahead, guys.
And this is going to come from a kind of a version of a somebody who's looking into a scene, and then Greg, who was actually in the scene more, like he was actually more in like a scooter club, and he was actually part more of that culture of the scooter and mod part of it. I lived in the desert and could only visit that every once in a while, so it was kind of a little foreign to me. And in one of those visits that I came down from the desert, that's when I very first saw Greg. I believe at one of a show at.
Let me expand upon that.
Go for
it. And
it.
how old were you guys during this time, so we can get a correlation?
I was probably 17.
Oh,
Same.
wow!
I was about 18 then.
So about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Might have been a little bit older then. Yeah, maybe. If you're 17, I must have been a little bit older. Okay, go ahead.
So it was a concert that was, I think, at the Whiskey A Go on Sunset. And I met Dwight's sister first. And she and I hit it off. She was a cool chick. I don't think she's that cool anymore, huh?
Well, it's pretty cool. But just not
real change. But he's like, oh, you must know my friend Dwight, or my brother Dwight. He's up there on the balcony. And so I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, So, but that was the first time I met a Schmidt, okay? And then I met his brother, and then I met Dwight. I don't quite remember exactly where you and I met Dwight, but that was the first time I met a Schmidt.
Yes. So, and then I think Greg and I more officially met at a gig down in Long Beach at Fender's, I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah, Fender's. Fender's was Fender's Ballroom was a great place to see a show. and it's no longer there anymore. It's condos now.
Right, but a lot of times people would ride their bikes down there to the show, and then the show would happen. So there'd be like a scooter rally to the show, right?
And
Yeah.
what kind of music? What kind of music were you guys into at that age?
Ska and what you call mod
Power
music,
pop?
soul, power pop.
Northern soul type stuff.
Sure, a
Yeah.
little bit of northern soul. Yeah, that about covers it.
Yeah. For me, it was I was living in the desert, just kind of lost and listened to a lot of heavy metal and stuff like that, and kind of starting to move around a little bit musically, and had started kind of dating this girl Stella, and she was into different music, and she introduced me kind of to like to the Who and to the whole like mod culture kind of stuff. She was kind of more of a vintage girl. I mean, she was a little bit more advanced, obviously. She was more of kind of a vintage girl and liked that music and liked that stuff. And so, I mean, me liking her, I'm like, okay, what is this? And she's like, you should get a scooter, and you'd be really cool. It would be really cool if you got, you like this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then as it happened, my friend, my dad bought my brother a Vespa. For whatever reason, he bought my brother a Vespa. And down in Rolling Heights, he buys, he takes this Rally 180 out of a van, and I fall to pieces, man. I mean, that was my heart was
Older
there.
brother or younger brother?
Younger brother.
Oh.
And my heart was there, and I thought, oh my God, this thing is just like.
Were you kind of like, what the hell? Where's mine?
Oh, for sure. And so I remember taking that thing and riding it around the neighborhood there, and then riding it around Rolling Heights and down by the mall. And dude, I mean, those literally are some of the most unbelievable memories I have about riding a scooter. I mean, and then getting that scooter up to the desert, and Eric, my brother, goes, dude, I don't want that thing. And I'm like, dude, let me have it, bro. He's like, yeah, no problem. So from then on, I mean, that has been a big piece of my, I don't know, my mental health, man, for sure.
Some of my best memories are early like that too. When I was very young, when we didn't have to wear a helmet.
Oh
Wow.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember one night, just me and a friend. It was another friend. It wasn't Dwight, but me and a friend getting on a scooter. It was warm night, super warm night in the middle of summer, just riding with no helmets, shorts, t-shirts, and just cruising around. It was just fun. It was crazy. We were going anywhere, but we were going everywhere. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and what a feeling. I mean, because you think about it, that must have been, I can imagine a warm summer night here in California, outside on, without a helmet on, with shorts on, a t-shirt on, and you must feel like you're flying.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was fun.
And it was
that's impressionable.
And again, too young to realize how rickety these things really are, and how finicky they could be, and how one wrong thing could send your life into a tizzy. None of that, man. None of that mattered.
No, and how close the road was. Like, oh shit, there's asphalt right there. Who cares? We're just going right along,
Oh yeah. I mean, so unbelievable, that stuff. So again, every once in a while, back in those days, they would have a huge scooter rally called Super Scoot.
Super
Scoot.
Super Scoop. Wow.
Super Scoot. So I believe Super Scoot 85 is the very first time I probably ever did see Greg, down somewhere.
No, I wasn't at 85.
You weren't at 85. You were at 87.
88.
Okay, I did see him at 87. Was that Running Springs?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Right.
Right. And they were all, every one of these things was well planned and a fucking disaster.
Yeah. I remember we get there to Running Springs and like, who are you people? The guy, the proprietor of this parking, this like campground says, who the fuck are, I didn't know this many people here. Get out of here, go away. We had to cruise back down the hill, and we found various places to stop and pull over. Like some people would say, oh, you can pitch your tent in my yard, my front yard, just don't make too much noise. And other places when we go to other campgrounds and we split up. That was so unorganized.
Yeah, that was the time where we went up there to Running Springs. It didn't work out, and then we ended up in somebody's backyard in a big tent. And it was just another, unbelievable time riding scooters, and it just didn't work out.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, so I get a lot of great memories like that from riding scooters when we were young. And then, that part of the scooter culture in that respect was like different subcultures within that culture. There was like the scooter boys, kind of they were just into the kind of the scooters, and they were like people more like Greg and I were more like mods,
Uh-huh.
and with scooters. And then there were like skinheads, and they also kind of ran, they rode scooters and stuff. So there was even division like between the subcultures then.
That's true. And we're talking about the good skinheads too, not the bad ones, not the racist kinds.
Yeah.
So Greg, you said that you were kind of a little bit more involved in the clubs, and how did the clubs originate? Were they kids from like all over, or were they like all kids from like maybe one general high school, or a couple of high schools, or from like the colleges or something like that? Or how did how did they find out about these clubs?
So the club I was in was called Club Impact, and it was a Long Beach-based club. I've lived in Long Beach my whole life, pretty much my whole life, and and so that's how we all. There are people from Orange County that were in the club too, as long as they weren't too far away. They would drive in or scoot in, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was a fun time. Running Springs, when we went to Super Scooter 87, we were all there. All Club Impact was there. So we stuck together, we watched each other's back. We made sure everybody had a place to stay that night, and so that clubs are fun. I don't know how they really got started around here. I think there's been scooter clubs since the 60s in England.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's sort of, it's a legacy of that.
Did the scooter clubs revolve around like a certain like scooter repair shop or a Vespa shop or something? Because I mean, I would imagine that back then, young kids, when you'd buy a scooter and you might need to tweak it and work it, and I don't know about you guys, but me, I know enough to really screw it up, and I have to take it to a professional and get it fixed.
Right.
So I can imagine that there was probably some scooter shops that people kind of gravitated around, that maybe other members, you found people to join the clubs from.
There were shops around. I mean, back then there was two major shops. One was help me out, Dwight.
Like Eric Larson's shop.
Go Fast
Scooters.
Go Fast was one, and then Scooterville was the other one.
That's in Scooterville, yes.
And that's where, I mean, as a person who lived in the desert, in the high desert, I had to somehow get my scooter all the way down to Anaheim to bring it to go to Scooterville for them to work on it.
Wow.
And then from there, obviously, they're working and selling Vespas. And from there, you're seeing like, oh my God, look at that cool scooter right there. Who does that belong to? You start talking to people, you start understanding kind of what's going on. There's flyers about, gigs and rides. And then from there, I mean, Scooterville for me was that kind of opening, and then going, I mean, and oddly enough, man, going to Claremont and down
at the colleges.
The Claremont colleges, but there's that downtown.
Yep.
Where there's that cool record store.
Oh yeah, Rhino Records.
Right, Rhino. That's the very first place I saw like 5 scooters lined up, and I mean, my eyes just was like, oh my God, man, this is real. There's people around here like that, And then I realized, okay, this might be going on,
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I mean, growing up in Claremont, I mean, the first time I rode a scooter was like a buddy's P. I don't know if it was a 125 or a 200 or whatever it was, but it was a buddy's P that I wrote. And, I had a little bit of motorcycle experience. I understood the shifting thing, and I was like, wow, this is super cool. My parent, again, this is also when all the kids had, the Motorbicon mopeds, or the mopeds and all that stuff during that era. And then all of a sudden you start seeing these scooters, these Vespas kind of show up at the high school. But again, so that was the first time I ever got to ride a scooter. And that kind of stuck and resonated in my head as well. Not until I got older was I able to jump on one myself. So
yeah, it must. And when you jumped on your GL, it must have felt way different than a P.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, it had been such a long time, the separation, that I couldn't even freaking tell the difference. I just knew that I was shifting, So that's all I knew. I mean, between there, you run into situations where you get to ride like, twist and goes and stuff like that. And I mean, that was a whole different, that's a whole different animal in itself.
All the bikes that we have here are shifties.
Yeah, they're all
transmission. They're all steel, they're no plastic, and they're made in Italy or Spain. Yeah, or Argentina.
Right.
So tell me, I mean, Greg, Greg, you have Lambrettas and Vespas, and Dwight, do you have Lambrettas now too?
I used to, but no, not right at this moment.
How many scooters do you have right now, Dwight?
6.
You have 6 right now?
Yeah.
I think you need 7, dude.
I would like 7, but it's down in San Diego, and I don't know if I can get it. So
see that one right there?
Right, yeah, that was number 7 there.
Really? That was Dwight's Soul Lambretta.
Yeah.
Said, hey, hold this for me for about 8 years, and then he about a week ago on Super Bowl Sunday he brought it back. I'm going to fix it up and hopefully get it running again.
Yeah,
wow.
Man, I can't wait to get that thing. And Ed, as you can tell, I mean, when we were young, somehow, some way, the very first scooter Greg bought was a Lambretta, and the very first scooter I was ever introduced to was a Vespa Rally. And I mean, Greg has a beautiful Rally there, but his love and his deep love is our Lambrettas, and my deep love are Rallies. And so we stuck with the first things we fell in love with,
Yeah. I mean, because I know that you've been a big rally guy, so
yeah, I mean, that's my favorite bike. I mean, the 180 is my favorite.
There are people who go to him for questions. Hey, dude, I hear you're the rally guy. You have these parts. You have this. What's this? What is this thing? How come this is on the 75 but not on the 76? He knows all that stuff. He's good with that shit.
So Dwight, tell us a little bit for people that don't know. I mean. There's people, obviously there's people that all they know is they see that opening and they think they're all Vespas. They don't realize that they're Lambrettas. There's people that just don't realize that or don't know that. And Dwight, tell us what makes the difference between the rallies, the super sports, the GLs, the GSs. I mean, how does that whole thing kind of play out?
There's essentially like two different types of Vespas, really. There's the kind that you and I have, like a GL or a Rally, where the carburetor sits, behind and above there, or like on a GS 160 or SS 180, they're piston ported. So that's the carburetor and everything sits in a different angle, and it's a different, like the motor is a little different. So there's a kind of a different variations just in that respect, but the engine in your bike and the engine in my bike are very similar. Very similar.
But your bike is the Rally is a 180.
I have one 180 and the rest are 200s.
And even the 200 engine is similar to the 150 engine?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Wow. Okay.
It's a smaller carburetor. One of the biggest differences is that the carburetor is smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the engine case, is probably very similar size, but then you get to the barrel and the piston, and you get to the gears, and you get to the carburetor, and then the exhaust, and then you get a 200 essentially. So you can make the GL motors like 200 motors, but it's more like where the stator goes and all kind of stuff like that. But dude, your GL is fast, man. I mean, I remember pushing my Rally hard, and you were ripping down the road.
Hey, and I'll tell you, I just had that work done to it, right? So I had Eric Larson and Massimo here in Costa Mesa I had the Penasco 177 kit put on it with the I think it's a 24 carburetor.
Oh, okay.
And the exhaust. I had another exhaust, and the electronics were changed, and they had to change the I guess the cam, the thing that kind of like holds the piston to go up and down, the cam part.
The crankshaft.
The crankshaft. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, the crankshaft. So I mean, and obviously a new piston and all that stuff. And it boogies right now.
Dude, I bet you. I mean, I bet I'd be hard to keep up with you at 6 point. I think.
Yeah.
It
boogies.
I had a bone stock GL for a while. That was the most peppiest bike I ever rode.
Yeah,
that thing was. Dude, I
don't know why. I mean,
I don't either. I don't know. But I'm telling you, Greg, I'm ripping down PCH, man. And I mean, and I've got my throttle at a comfortable place to where if it blows up, I might still live, right? And I'm like, and freaking ends are, I mean, just tearing up the fucking road, dude. I'm like, God damn it, man! What the hell's he got in that thing? Yeah.
I remember you commented once about that, like there's something going on there. And because you're ripping in that thing, and I didn't know any difference, so I just knew. I think that the guy that owned my bike before had some work done to it, but I really don't know. I have a big owner's manual that, well, not an owner's manual, but just like all my receipts of all the work and everything.
Oh, that's cool, nice.
That I've done. I've got an original.
Nice.
Gizmo here from 63.
Is that the book? That's nice, dude.
The book, and
the owner's manual.
Yeah, a little. It's like in Italian and like German or something. I don't know what other language. I can't even tell what the language is.
All the things that we covet,
Yeah. So yeah, but I'll tell you, I had that work done to the scooter, and don't tell Yvette, but I mean, it was like $4,500. You imagine? I spent 40. I mean, it started out like it was going to be like $1,800, right? But then I kept saying, well, how about this? Can we do this? How about that? And before I know it, it just snowballed.
I know.
And I'm like, I could have bought another scooter for this.
You could have bought another scooter.
And
but you got to I mean, but your GL is beautiful, man. I mean, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really in good shape and doing really well. I think what I need to do next is probably get some new tires for it. I mean, the tires are fine, but I think that a little bit, maybe a little bit better grippier tire. I don't know.
Yeah, I've kind of, I mean, I was a kind of a classic scooter, tire rider for a long, long time. And Greg's always been more of a roundy rider. I mean, like round tires, like real tires, motorcycle type tires. And I always thought that doesn't look right on a scooter, whatever, for me. But I started putting them on my bikes, man. And man, I enjoy riding my bikes a lot more. They really feel better when you're riding around. Yeah,
no, I could imagine. And Greg, tell us a little bit about the scooters that you have right now. What are the and any of the projects you're working on?
Well, let's see. So the red one right there that you see, that's my only Vespa.
Wow, it's the only one. You got rid of your GL then?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
That is what is it? It's a 76 Rally 200 electronic ignition. It's got the FEMSA electronic ignition. And then I've got the ochre colored, the yellow colored bikes back there. You see two of them. There's actually a third one that you can't see. Those are all Jet 200s. I don't know why I have three of them, because I'm fucking crazy. That's why. But I love those. Those are the ones that are made in Spain. They're basically Lambrettas. They're patterned after the Series 3s that were originally designed in Italy in the very early 60s. And then a company named Ibar, they licensed the design from Lambretta so that they could make them in Spain. And the Spanish Lambrettas are a little different. They got their little intricacies, little tweaks to them, but they're fun. They're beautiful. And that one right there, I don't know if you can see. There's a little embellishment right there.
Yep.
That's the 200 embellisher that's typical for an early one of those. I love that. I love that design. It's just a beautiful
Oh, me
bike.
too. Yeah.
So are Lambrettas the Jets? Are those Spanish bikes?
Yes, the Jet 200 is a Spanish bike, right?
Okay, but they also had the Italian 200 that wasn't called Jet, then, right?
Yeah, it's an SX 200 basically, and it had that same pattern, that same badge on it there. And
Yeah.
even if you look at the engine of this one right here, it says SX 200 on the engine. Although it's not technically, it's a Spanish engine, Spanish bike. But so and then there's a TV 175 back there. I don't know if you can see the blue one back
The blue
there.
one way in the back, yeah.
Yeah, and then so these are all Series 3s, and this one's a Series 2. You can't really tell because the front end's off. But and then I've got a Series 1 in the house that, I mean, it's like a museum piece. So I put it in the house so my cats can sit on it, pretend they ride it.
Nice. So did you learn did you just learn on your own how to like tinker with these scooters and work on them or
Yeah,
how did you?
did. I mean, I had a friend way back in the day who was really good with this stuff, and he taught me a lot of shit. I don't talk to him anymore, unfortunately, but so yeah, I like I said, I think when we started, I almost like tinkering more than riding these days. But yeah, so I've got the books. I've got all the where are my books here? They're up here. Hold on, so I'm gonna show you some of the books I've got. This is a great one right here. This is printed in England. These are it's all our color pictures. Whereas the book that I learned off of in the 80s was this one.
Oh wow,
that's the best book. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody had this book. I mean, this is so weird. Some of the descriptions are so obtuse. It's like the Queen's English, you know. And then there's this one here, which is kind of cool. This is a more recent thing. This is the it's in Italian more than English practically, but it tells you all the stuff about like if you see a horn that looks like this, you got whatever bike, you know, you've got this bike. Or if you see, you know, I don't know, it's just got all this very particular stuff about what each bike, how it's different from another bike, and what parts you may have on hand.
And Greg, are there shops that are around that still work on Lambrettas or I mean, it seems like that's not as common, obviously, I think, as Vespas.
Yeah, there's the Jet 200 or Casa Lambretta USA, which is in Denver. That's a good thing. I guess they do work. I'm sure they do great work there, but I get parts from them basically. That's one of the best places to get parts. Then there's Scooters Originale, which is in Washington. They do good parts. They resell a lot of Scootopia parts, which is an English brand. Whom am I forgetting? Anybody, Dwight?
Well, we locally, you know, there's a guy that runs a place called Planet Lambretta.
Oh, right.
I've heard of that.
And he's got quite a collection. Very personable guy. He's sponsored a couple rides that I've been on. Likes to open up his museum. He's got like a Lambretta museum. You should go check it out, Ed. It's really cool.
Is it where is he?
Is it like Gardena?
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know,
a lot of nice scooters.
He's got a lot of nice scooters. He knows a lot of weird Lambretta facts. He's got Lambretta mopeds. You think of Vespa mopeds kind of rare. He's got Lambretta mopeds. So yeah, it's an interesting place for sure.
They got like a pseudo museum there that you can kind of walk through, and he'll kind of show you the different nuances of you know, this was a 58, this is a 59, and this is why they're different, you know, whatever. And then he'll kind of, this is 63 and 64, you know, he kind of can talk to you about the different bikes he has there. He has a lot of cool accessories on the walls. And I mean, again, he's a nice chatty dude. So
yeah, you know, Harmick is his name.
Yeah.
Was I'm assuming that Vespa was the first scooter, and Lambretta came after. Was it something that was Lambretta? You know, like happens a lot of times with in the car industry, where somebody was an employee or worked as an engineer or a designer for the car company, and then he went off and he kind of steered off and made his own car or his own design or something like that. Is that kind of what happened with Vespa and Lambretta, or were they like total competitors all the time?
I can't really speak to that. I think they're competitors. They basically started around the very same time. Do you know much more about that?
Again, no. I mean, if you look back on the like the dates for early Lambrettas and early Vespas, they're very close.
1947.
Yeah, and it was really a pivot. As far as like Piaggio, who had Vespa, it was a pivot. They were making small motors for like the putting down and putting up the wheels of a plane.
Yeah,
and so
I heard that.
And so they took that kind of design, and then they said, well, here's a small little motor. Let's put that on something that people can just ride around on. And then they kind of made that Vespa figure, as you see, back in 47, somewhere like that, 48.
40, yeah.
And from there on, they kind of just started refining it and making it different. But it was a repurposing of the motor essentially for cheap transportation. And Vespas and Lambrettas are the motors of themselves are different. I mean, a Vespa is a direct drive. There's a piston and it just goes right to the gears. Where on a Lambretta,
there's a chain.
Oh, there's a chain
like a motorcycle, but it's inside the engine.
Oh, wow!
So you never see it. But yeah, like I was saying, the Lambretta is definitely very different than a Vespa. And the guy who started Lambretta, his company Innocenti made scaffolding, so they knew how to do stuff with tubes. And so the Lambretta frame, especially the very early ones, the Model A, the B, the C, the so on, they were made with a lot of tubes. And whereas the Vespa it's a pressed. It's one pressed unit. I think
monocoque.
Yeah. I think there's like 8 individual parts on a Vespa. If you count like the fenders, the side cowls, the headset, the body itself. Whereas the Lambretta is like fucking 24 damn different parts that you have to bolt on or paint, whatever. If you're restoring it, it's a lot more to do,
Yeah, it is a I don't know if overly engineered machine is the word. I'm not sure.
Way to put it. Overly engineered, yeah.
But I mean, it is so different. Ed, if you ever get a chance to ride one, I mean, I would really suggest you do. You will trip at the difference, man. Every time I ride one of Greg's Lambrettas, or a guy I know, a guy named Rick, he has a couple of nice bikes. Man, I mean, finding first, second, third, fourth is like, on a Lambretta for me is like, I'm close. I think I'm going to go ahead and let it go there. Okay. I'm in it. On a Vespa, I mean, it's like, it's click in, click in, click in,
right.
Click in. I mean, it feels so much, for me anyway, it feels so much more precise on a Vespa than it does on a Lambretta as far as the gear change.
And how's the ride? Is the ride very similar? Does the Lambretta, I mean, the Lambretta looks like, in comparison to some Vespas, it looks like a bigger bike. Is it does it ride like a bigger bike? Does it ride more like a motorcycle? Does it ride more like are they very similar?
I'd say they're similar. They're about almost the exact same size, length and width and height.
Wow, okay.
Seat height and everything. If you ride a P200 or any P series bike compared to an older Vespa or any Lambretta, the P series is going to be a very nimble bike, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Rally's a little not as nimble, but a little more so than an older Vespa or than most Lambrettas. Everything on a Lambretta is right down the middle, though, whereas the Vespa, the engine is off to the right-hand side. And so it's sort of unbalanced a little bit, but you don't really notice that when you're riding.
Yeah, you're right.
Everything on a Lambretta is right down the middle, which is sort of nice in some ways.
Yeah, and I believe as a passenger, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Very over-engineered, as Dwight said, almost like the Dyson of fucking motor scooters.
But I mean, again, engineering-wise, like he said, the motor is straight down the middle, so the balance is very nice. And as a passenger, the floorboards extend out farther, so it's really a lot easier to put your feet down and get a nicer place to sit. As on Vespa, you have to kind of push your feet a lot more forward to try to get it
around the
right around the cowls.
cowls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Are they use the same like 10-inch wheels and stuff like that? And
Yep. Same tires, same inner tubes.
yeah.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I think Lambrettas have a 4 lug pattern, and Vespas have a 5 lug pattern on the wheels.
That's right. That's correct.
For whatever reason, but they're both 10-inch. Both kickstart. Both. Lambretta's never pre-mixed. I mean, never, like, you can't, like on a Vespa, like my Rally, they have like a little pre-mixer, so you can put oil in one part and the oil and the gas in the other. Lambrettas, you always have to pre-mix. They never made that feature.
Like, are they also 50-to-1 type of a thing?
Yeah, 2%, 2, 3, 4% at the most, depending on what you're running.
Got it. How in comparison, reliable is a Lambretta to the Vespa in the sense of like stuff breaking down or stuff getting old or something like that on it?
Well, a Lambretta is a freaking rattle trap because there's so many parts on it. But I had a Lambretta back in the 80s, the first one I ever bought. I mean, I rebuilt it twice, and both times it continued to run just beautifully like a top every time. But other people say, they'll make a joke. Oh, why are Lambretta owners so much stronger? Oh, they push their bikes everywhere. It's but it is true that I don't know. There's something about a Vespa that sometimes the Vespas will just always start, no matter what you do, they're going to start. Whereas a Lambretta, who knows?
Yeah,
well, they're both. I mean, you have a car right behind you that's Italian.
What's that?
I said he has a car that's right behind him that's Italian. He knows how finicky they are.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I got out of the muscle car. I got the muscle car heavy metal era out of my system and now got into the to the Italian car style here. Yeah, I mean, this thing's delicate. As long as you take care of it and you kind of massage all the right parts on it, it'll continue working. But when shit goes wrong, shit really goes wrong.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So
one thing I've noticed, especially with Lambrettas, because there's so many parts, is that if let's say you're restoring a Lambretta and something is gone on it, it's not there anymore, or you need to replace it because it's broken. The replacement part is never going to quite fit perfectly right as that original part. It's almost like the guys in the factory, when they're putting it together, they sort of ground it or bent it or whatever to make it fit that bike.
Oh.
And I don't think there's anything, tolerances, smallerances, who fucking cares, whatever. But another thing is that any of these bikes, they will, once you get going, they will run. They'll just run for a long time. If you get it running, if you put it together right, it will run for a long time.
And you mentioned earlier an array of different shops that you can get parts from, but are the parts, I mean, and you've said that there's a lot of parts to the Lambrettas. Are the parts pretty easily accessible? I mean, or is there
body parts
doesn't exist anymore?
There are some body parts that don't exist anymore. Like a series 1 has a horn case where the headlight is down on the front, not on the headset, it's down on the front of the bike. If you don't have that thing and you have a series 1, but it's missing that piece, you don't have a series 1, basically. So that is impossible to get. People have remade them, but they just don't look good. They don't work well. But and they're very hard to find. Just in general, they're very hard to find. Let's see. What was the rest of your question?
No, if there were other parts were really hard to find or get. I mean.
Oh, right. The engine parts are easy. Because there's a company called Scooters India Limited in India, who I think in the mid 70s, they licensed Lambrettas to be made in India. And so they continue to expand upon them, tweak them a little bit, little things here and there, a little different, but it still fits on an Italian Lambretta maybe. But so because they stuck around until gosh, I think they just closed like 5 years ago, and there are still parts that they made floating around. Like I just bought a gearbox, a 200 gearbox made in India. That I mean, it's basically an Italian. It could be an Italian gearbox. It's just made in India. So the fact that that's still out there, that's sort of nice. I can't speak to Vespas in regards to that. Dwight, do you know about that?
For like, the kind of nice thing a little bit about Lambrettas is that they had like a series 1, a series 2, and a series 3. And so a lot of the kind of the parts for them are like more, I think, a little bit more readily available, where like on a Vespas for America, they changed a lot of stuff. So in
That's true.
68, if you were to buy a Rally 180, when the Rally 180 came out, and that's, if you were to buy that in Europe or Italy, the taillight was flush against the body. If you bought that here in America, it had what we call a tuna can taillight, which was now a DOT, requirement for these bikes. Another requirement was a smaller headset that had a sealed beam. So there were differences that now the American market scooters were demanding that the Italians now had to kind of fidget and make work. Another one is the turn signals on a rally. If you would go to, Italy or whatever like that, they don't have anything like that on those bikes. So it was an add-on to those bikes for America to make it work. The front reflector is another one. That's not something on those bikes. So but since America was a market, and at least a market enough to where they could maybe placate some stuff, they made some concessions and put out these bikes. So that tuna can was around from like 68 to 72. And after that came the tractor tail light, which is the bigger one that looked like the P's have on them now. That came on about 74, about 74. And then that was on from then on. So there've been some slight changes to these bikes. Like Greg 76, he's got a switch on his headset that only that year has. And if that switch breaks, you're done. You are never going to find another one. I mean, it is just, you're screwed.
Where's the Lambretta? Those switches are being remade. Now, in my opinion, they're not being remade very well, but they are being remade.
And there are some people who remake stuff, but it's just, I mean, again, SIP is the one that we all use, pretty much.
Is in the Lambretta world, I mean, compared to like the Vespa world, I mean, you hear of I don't even know how to pronounce it right. Bogs, BOGE bikes.
Yeah. Oh,
Bodge, yeah. Is that? I know that they are kind of looked down, I guess, in the Vespa world. Am I right in saying that? I don't know. I'm kind of naive to it. So, I mean, what's the take on that?
Don't ever buy one.
Don't ever buy one, huh?
Yeah. Don't ever buy a Bodge. And you can tell it's the Bodge. There's certain little hallmarks that every Vespa or Lambretta has that say this could be a Bodge.
So Lambretta has that also.
Oh yeah.
To it.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was only Vespa.
No.
You hear about Vespas more because they're more popular.
Sure.
But so the Bodges were made by sort of shade tree mechanics in Southeast Asia, okay, and then sold here to hipsters who just say, I want to buy a Vespa. They don't know anything about it. They don't know why. They just want to buy one. And 50 miles later, the thing will explode, and no shop will touch it because they say, oh, you bought a Bodge. And I'm not touching this thing because it'll kill you because the frame might fall apart or whatever.
So they're just completely shoddy. I mean, they look really pretty on the outside, but a lot of them have a lot of Bondo on them, and they all have very, like Greg was saying, there's things that say scream. There's things that scream Bodge, like piping around the door of the side cowl, like the little handle, like the little door opening. If there's like a little rubber piping around that's definitely the way that the floor runners are put on there. The trim on the outside of the leg shield. they always put on, for whatever freaking reason, this license plate bullshit thing on the back with this little chrome thing on the back, and the thing rusts terribly. Oh, and the for whatever reason they bolt the crash bars right on the cowls, right? So they drill them and they bolt them right on there. All those things are bodge. I mean, all those things are bodge.
I mean, I know that sometimes they'll, I mean, on the center front Piaggio's logo, they put those wings. Is that typically is that a bodge thing, or is that not necessarily a bodge thing? I've always thought that if I saw those wings on the front there.
If you saw those wings alone, yes. That you never know, but if you saw them with some other little telltale things, then yeah, probably that's a bodge.
Got it.
Most bodges are going to have 2 seats because they think that's cool. Most bodges are going to have a seat or like a rear spare tire holder that says Vespa right on the back of it with the cover on it. I mean, it's all color coded the same way. There's usually a kind of a chrome trim that kind of goes around the front fender. It's just, and always the speedometer is going to be in kmh.
Oh,
Okay, so I just want to make sure mine's not a bodge, is it?
No.
Good,
I don't think it is.
No, well, I don't think that Massimo or Eric Larson would have worked on it if it was.
No, yeah,
No,
they
somebody
wouldn't have. Yeah,
and
Yeah.
it was your bike was done at Scooter Works in Chicago, wasn't it?
Man, good memory, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was in Chicago. That's where this guy had it done when they originally redid it back.
Yeah, so those
don't
guys
even-
wouldn't touch that bike if it was a bodge.
Yeah, I don't remember what year that was, but yeah, wow, that's good memory.
Is your GL original paint or is it repainted?
Yeah, I'm sure it's repainted.
Okay, it's really good paint.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they used the right color. The only thing that your bike is truly missing is on a GL, the rims were the same color as the bike. But that was very specific to that bike, man. I mean, I don't know if any of the Vespas ever had that. Do you, Greg?
Well,
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
it's funny because I had one of the rims, and next time you guys see it, you guys will, I'll show it to you guys. But one of the rims, the bolts, for some reason they must have gotten loose, and with riding it, they kind of became oblong.
They ovalized, yeah.
Yeah, they ovalized, right? So I was getting a funny shimmy and I couldn't figure out what's going on right one time I was riding it. And yeah, it was the rim was getting all kind of jacked up. So I had taken it to the shop and they got me another rim. And they put it on the back, and because it's harder to see back there. So it's a different color rim in the back than it is in the front. I need to get that. I wouldn't mind getting that painted or done correctly. And the other thing that also isn't correct on mine is the levers. The levers have are, I think, more of like a more modern one with the little knobs, the little balls at the end,
Right.
where the original ones should have been like yours, like in your picture, Dwight. I think they should have been like just straight
Like
little
stiletto,
points.
like almost stiletto end.
Stiletto-ish, yeah, right.
More like this. That's the straight ones. I don't know if you can see this one.
Yeah, exactly. The straight ones like that.
Yeah, the ball end ones were put on in the 70s, I think.
Yeah. Again, DOT.
Yeah, it might have been a DOT thing, although I think they did that in Italy too.
Oh, okay.
What's so DOT about that?
Well,
poke your eye out?
The stiletto ones, they'll go through your hand.
Oh,
If you crash or something. I mean, that's a terrible thing to think about. But yeah, I mean, who knows? They could poke your head. They could poke through you anywhere,
yeah. I guess you're right.
So I think I don't know if they did that in Italy too, but your bike's a 63 4 something like that.
3, yeah.
I think it should have those more stiletto levers.
So what's next for you guys with the scooters? I mean, Greg, you're working on them a lot. I mean, it sounds like you're not riding them as much as you used to in the past. You're still kind of though loving and enjoying the hobby of scooters, right?
Yeah, I just love the design of them. They're just beautiful from that point of view, from a design point of view.
Right.
And I just like with my series 1, it took a long time, but I took a long time intentionally with it. I got all the parts. I just collected all the parts. It's sort of finding the parts is sort of a fun thing too, making them fit together. So, and then it's just I like that bike a lot. It's perfect. I mean, it's almost perfect to me.
Do you still have that one that had that had a penguin on it?
No, I sold that one.
What was that one? What was that?
That was basically an LI 150. It was a Lambretta Series 3, and I sold it to a good guy in
Arizona.
Arizona. He painted my Series 1.
Oh.
Yeah, he had plans for that thing. I think he sold it to a customer, and that customer's done stuff with it. I don't know exactly what's going on, but yeah, that's good memory, man. That was a long time ago.
Hey, so the scooter that's up on the rack behind you, Greg, what's the ailment that it currently has to get it going?
It didn't run. I mean, I don't think it started. I don't think I had ran it since I bought it, basically.
No, I have a video of you driving that up and down the street, the very first time you got it.
Okay, right, yeah, and I think that's probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, more than that probably.
Wow.
So the fuel tap was full of shit. I had to replace the fuel tap. I put a different motor in it now, but then I'm going to rebuild the original motor and put that in actually. So it's what else? Just as I kind of got into it, every little thing here and there was messed up or something, but otherwise it's a very original bike. I really like it. The paint is all original.
It only has like 3,800 miles on it.
It's very low miles. Let me look at it. Oh shit.
It's not there.
No, here it is.
Yeah, I think it's like 3794 or something like that.
7401.
Okay.
Oh wow. So that was Dwight, that was yours at one time?
No, that was always Greg's. And then he, I always loved that body style. And so I'm like, oh man, I think it's really cool. And he's like, well, yeah, take it to your house. So I'm like, all right. So I took it to my house and planned to work on it here and there and stuff. And I worked on the body a lot. I kind of buffed out the body and cleaned up the body a lot and did all those kind of things. But then, the engine I wanted to keep completely original and, but it was only 125 and it would never go anywhere. So that was kind of the hang up for many years. And then finally Greg got a nice 3-car garage and it's like, let me work on that thing. So he took it back and now it looks like it's going to be done here, I think in a week or maybe. And
a couple of weeks. I am going to rebuild the original motor and put it back in. The one, I don't want to use the one that's in there right now. So, so we will honor that, Dwight. So this is nice. This is the front end for this thing. It goes right here.
So, Greg, what year is that bike?
60.
1960. Wow.
Yeah, it's 60. Hold on.
So, Dwight, does Greg have like all the proper tools? Because I know when you're working on bikes to this level, you need certain tools.
Yeah, you need
specific
presses.
tools.
Yeah, he's got all that stuff, and I mean, he understands how to do most of it. I think,
These are, I got all kinds of wrist pin tool. I mean, this is just a few of them here.
Wow.
These aren't even really Lambretta specific.
Shit, man, I want to go hang out in his garage.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man. He's got a beautiful thing. He's got some beautiful stuff going on there.
All right, well, guys, hey. Thanks for your time, man. I think it's been good. I like the fact that we were able to catch up on a personal level as well. And it kind of sucks. I sold my truck, as you know, Dwight.
Oh, you did. I didn't know.
Right. I sold my truck and I bought I have a Subaru Outback. So I have this Outback, and I bought that, I bought one of those hitch trailers that puts the bike on side, on its side.
Oh, right.
And it scares the shit out of me to put it on there, man.
Yeah.
I get nervous with that. And I tried it a couple of times. I strapped it, and I could never really get it to balance correctly on there because there was always a little bit of play. And then on top of that, the straps to tie it down, my wife made me some like almost these cushiony fabric out of moving blankets to protect the scooter from chafing from the tie downs, right? And even with all that stuff, I was still kind of like, man, I was still nervous doing it by myself.
Yeah.
To load and unload it, So I got to think of another way. I think I'm gonna eventually buy probably buy a little truck like the one you got, Dwight. Do you still have your truck, Dwight?
Oh, hell yeah. That thing's a lifesaver, man. I mean, again, it fits my scooter, dude. It's a Toyota, whatever it is, or Tacoma.
Yours is a long bed, right?
Yeah, long bed with and that's all you need.
Longer bed. I have a long bed. I have an F-150 too.
I was going to ask you. You still have your 150?
Yeah, I do. It's great, but it's a little high compared to Dwight's truck.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know that was happy because remember I had a 150 as well, and it was kind of, put it in the driveway where the dip is, and then the little ledge and try to get it up, and you think a scooter's relatively light, but when you're in that position,
it's 300 pounds.
It screws with you.
Yeah, they're 300 pounds, and I mean, you go for one way and they're gone.
Yeah. So I get kind of nervous about it. I'm hoping that I can find a better quality, maybe higher. If you guys know of something, let me know. But maybe one of those side hitch mount things that might be a better one, or the one that from other owners or whatever that say, hey, this is the best thing, and just let me know because I need to figure out something here.
Well, some people have like those little single trailers too,
That's another thing I've thought about. I mean, I know that there's been these little, again, I got to deal with, the space and stuff like that. Right. That's another issue, or Yvette will kill me, if I freaking throw a trailer in the front yard,
Put on blocks and look better that way.
On blocks. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's the last thing I needed freaking for Yvette to go nuts on me. So I mean, and I know that there are these little trailers that are kind of foldable and stuff like that. So maybe something like that might end up working.
People use those ones like you have, man. I've seen people use those things a lot. They feel scary, but I've seen people use them. So
yeah, I guess they get used to it after a while. But yeah, I guess you gotta have to deal with it. Maybe I'll find something that works like that. All right, guys. Thank you so much, man. It was great catching up. Great having a scooter talk.
Thanks,
and we gotta go ride. We gotta go hang with Greg. And I'd love to go and check out all your stuff, Greg. And
any Sunday, come over here.
Yeah, I know, any Sunday.
With Dwight.
Yeah, maybe next time, Dwight, you do a ride out there, or you go out I guess down here, because you're still in. Where are you in Lake Forest? Yeah. So when you come down,
I'll hit you up and tell you, because
let me know
soon. So there's going to be a scooter swap meet here soon too.
Where is it? The Long Beach one?
No, that's not. That one's in April. This other one's in La Habra, I think.
Yeah. On the 12th.
That's in like a week and a half or so. I think it's next Sunday.
Yeah.
Next Sunday I'm driving. We're coming back from
that looks painful for wherever it is.
Well, we're coming back from I think Napa or something. We're going up there for something with my brother. So old people shit we got to go do.
It looks fun.
Sounds great.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll talk
All right,
again.
brother. Take care.
Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.